welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Kellen and it rhymes with melon. And today we are diving into a very important topic, small claims, and specifically New York City small claims. I am going to show you how to successfully file and win your New York City small claims case. So whether you're dealing with a dispute or you need to recover money that's owed to you, I'm gonna walk you through the process step by step. And unfortunately, I am someone who has personally gone through the New York City small claims court system, and I won. So let's get started. Step 1, qualifying your case. First things first, let's talk about qualifying your case. To file a small claims case in New York City, your claim must be under $10,000. So this can be disputes over unpaid bills, property damage, or breach of contract. First, make sure that your claim falls underneath this $10,000 threshold. Step 2, filing your case. Next up, I'm going to talk about filing your case. First, head over to your local small claims court to get started. I went to the location in Financial District here in Manhattan. I think there might be one in Brooklyn. I'm not 100% sure though, but everything is on the website so you can find your nearest location there. What you'll do when you get there is they will hand you a statement of claim form to fill out. And this just outlines all of the details of your case. Very high level. If your personal claim is under $1,000, your filing fee is $15. If your claim is between $1,000 and $10,000, your filing fee is $20. Very important note here, bring cash. I'm filming this in 2025, but when I went there in 2022, I think it was when I went to file, they only accepted cash. I'm pretty sure that's still the case now. I do think they had an ATM there because a lot of people didn't realize you had to bring cash, but just bring a $20 bill or a $15 bill if your claim is under $1,000. I think they can also take certified check or mail order, but just read the website if you're going to go down that route. I think the easiest way was just cash, but they do not take personal check. If you have a checkbook, don't bring that. And I know it's very annoying to find cash, but I think it's a very small price to pay in order to get back whatever is owed to you. And I'm going to pop in what the form looks like here. This is the form that you're going to have to fill out. And in my opinion, the most difficult piece of information to find was the defendant's address. The person I was suing had moved away, so I did not know where they lived, but I still found a way, which I can share later. And I'll put the link to find this form in my description, but you can also find it on the small claims website. Step 3, serving the defendant. So after your claim is filed, the New York City Small Claims Court will serve a notice to the defendant. That's why they need the defendant's address. They will send a piece of mail to their address. And this notice of claim will also be sent to you. It's going to tell both of you when and where to meet. And you're meeting at the small claims court. It will also inform the defendant a brief statement of what you are requesting, dollar amount wise, and why you are requesting that. If that notice is not returned to the court within 21 days, they assume that the defendant did receive that piece of mail and they have been officially served. However, if the mail does get returned to the court, as in that person has moved and they cannot reach them, I believe the clerk will send you a new hearing date and inform you how you can personally serve them. If the claim cannot be served to the defendant after 4 months, the case is dismissed. But if you do learn new information regarding their location and address at a later date, you can refile the claim. So it's very, very important to get their address, okay? Step 4, preparing for court. My personal favorite step because it's like a huge homework assignment. So you gotta prepare for court. Gather all the evidence. I know you have it. You got those receipts. So things like contracts, rent statements, invoices, receipts, photographs of proof of whatever it is, maybe videos. Organize all of it in a way that's easy for the judge to understand. For me personally, I put everything into a big document and I put page numbers, and at the beginning of the document, I put table of contents to describe what was on each page. I printed 2 versions. I had mine, and then I had a nice clean copy that I gave to the judge. And I think having a nice envelope just makes you look more organized and put together. And then once you have all of your information together, just practice what you're gonna say out loud. Pretend it's like speech class and you need to give a speech. All right, switch to my phone. Apologies, my cute little camera died. So basically you wanna do what I am not doing right now. You wanna go into court prepared. If you need to print out multiple copies of something to feel prepared, do that. But I really think you should have 1 copy for you, 1 copy for the judge. You want to practice it and you want to perfect what you're going to say so that you appear confident. Step 5, attending the hearing. On the day of the hearing, head to the courthouse early. I'm talking 30 minutes early, like plan to be there 30 minutes ahead of time. And I say that because to get into the New York City Small Claims Courthouse, there is a metal detector, and I'm pretty sure there's 1, maybe 2, But there's hundreds of people arriving there at the same time. There's all the small claims people, there's the people arriving for jury duty, there's just a lot of people trying to get through that door at the same time, and sometimes the line goes out the door. So also, if it's raining, bring an umbrella because you might be stuck standing outside in this line. Anyways, you will go through the metal detector and then you are inside the building. Typically, they guide you up to like the second or third floor, I think. That's where my case was heard. Also note, you probably want to dress professionally. You're going in front of a judge and a room full of people to ask for money. So I think dressing professionally is probably the best case scenario. I just wore a black pant with a black button-down top and then black booties. I went multiple times, but one time it was freezing because it was winter, so I had a long puffer jacket. That's okay. When you get there, you'll be able to take off your jacket and put your belongings down on the bench next to you. Also, make sure you bring all of your evidence. Pack your bag the night before so that there's no chance you forget something that's super important. Also, you'll need your ID. And another thing to note is that the defendant could be there. Remember, they were served the same hearing court date as you, so they likely are there if they care. Otherwise, they might just ghost, and that's what happened to me. First, when you get into the room, it's usually like a big courtroom, and you can sit on any of the benches, and then there's a sheriff there in a police uniform, and he will read off the attendance for all of the cases. And whenever you hear your name, it's always like your last name versus last name, just raise your hand. So if you are here and you are the one who is suing, you'll be added to that list of hearings for the day. If they are not here, the defendant is not here, but you're there, you will still be added to the hearing for the day. However, it will be a one-sided argument. If you don't show and the defendant shows, the case is dismissed. So it's very important that you show up for the court date that they assign you. Otherwise, you'll have to refile. Anyways, you'll be guided probably into a different room. Usually they like to have a room where it's like both parties are there and then another room is set aside for the one-sided hearings. You'll get guided into a room and then they basically have a stack of papers of all your cases and it's in random order and they just one by one will take the piece of paper, read off the names, and it's your turn to go. I had 3 different court dates before my case was finally heard, so it can be frustrating and it's good to know that you might just waste 2 or 3 hours of your day. You might sit there and listen to all these cases and your name never gets called and they'll move you to another date. Unfortunately, New York City is just kind of disorganized and there are just so many cases to hear that every time I was moved, it was like 6 months out. So this took a long time. When it is your turn, jump up, go up there, introduce yourself, sit down, stay quiet until the judge is ready to hear from you. I like to have a statement, like it's like a high-level statement of why you're there and what you're requesting, and then hand the judge their personal envelope of evidence. Remember, this is their first time seeing or hearing this case. You might know every single detail and you've ran through this hundreds of times and you'll just want to like ramble and talk super fast. Slow down and let the judge read your documents and understand what's happening, okay? I just witnessed some people who were very pushy with the judge and I could tell the judge did not like that. So just be very polite, respectful, calm, chill. I think it's great to have that table of contents because then you can start to guide the judge through the different pages and explain your case. I always think it's better not to talk too much. Don't over talk because you can confuse a judge or you can say things that you don't mean to say. So just really like stick to the facts and then stay quiet and just answer questions. The judge will guide you through this. And best of luck. And lastly, what to expect after your hearing. After the hearing, the judge makes a decision. They do not make that decision right in front of you. I think to avoid having angry people. So after you present your case, you will leave and you will hear back within, I think it's 2 weeks. They mail their decision to you. I know everything is very snail mail here. So if you win, the court will issue a judgment in your favor. So you'll get a letter sent to you that says basically, we side with you, you've won this case, here's what you are owed. And then I'll have instructions on how to collect that from the defendant. However, keep in mind that collecting money from the defendant can take a lot of time and effort. It's like literally another journey you have to go on. You don't just immediately get a deposit in your account. I wish. If you're not on speaking terms with that defendant, you likely need to go through a sheriff and garnish their wages through their employer, assuming they have an employer. And again, this can take weeks or months to do, maybe years. The court recommended that I just reach out to the defendant myself, at least to let them know of the final verdict, because maybe they don't live at that address anymore, or they just don't know because they weren't there. So I did give them the common courtesy to email him, and I sent him a PDF like screenshot of the letter, letting him know that I won and he now owes me this through the state of New York. But again, you'll get all this information sent to you, so there's nothing really to fret about. First, you have to focus on winning the case, okay? And then that's basically it. So a few things to keep in mind. The entire process can take months or years. I think mine took like 2 years, maybe 2.5 years. Patience is key, my friend. Also, you need to be aware that the court's decision is final, so you cannot appeal a small claims judgment in New York City. And I feel like that's all of the important things. You don't need a lawyer. I did all of this myself, but if it makes you feel more confident, you can. I did see some people there with a lawyer, like they hired someone to come with them. But small claims, you don't necessarily need a lawyer, and I think it kind of worked in my favor. And I think the judge was actually impressed with how put together I was. She actually asked if I was an attorney because of how well I was presenting and like organized with my documents. I told her no, but sometimes I know it's a scary thing, but you can do it. So I hope that this video helps guide you to successfully file and win your small claims court. And now we're gonna go into a story time. Let's talk about why I ended up in small claims in New York City. I'm gonna keep this story pretty high level because I do respect this person. I wish them the best. I wish this never happened, and I would love for us both to move on with our lives, but I do think it can be helpful for some of you going through the same scenario, or maybe your friend is going through this. I think it's helpful to have some sort of personal anecdote. So, the backstory. I lived with my now ex-boyfriend in New York City for a few years. And let's just say we broke up. He had to move out around halfway through our lease. So we still had several months, like 6 or more months left on our lease. But obviously we weren't civil, we weren't together. So he was moving out. He had found a roommate. He decided to move out. We discussed it. I was able to take over the full lease and start paying the 100% of the rent myself. That's a whole other story. How the heck did I afford that? Let's just say I had to. We'll save that for another video, but that is why I freelance so much. Anyway, we had this decision made. It was all over text. I had the screenshots good to go. During that last month, I noticed he didn't pay his half of rent while he was still living here. And I asked him, he said he was just late because he had to pay all the moving costs. I understood. I was like, fine, whatever, just pay it. And he eventually moved out, and that rent just never got paid. And what happens when you have a leftover balance on your rent is you get late fees. So we got our first late fee after that month, and I just knew that this was going to continue until he paid it. And some people would just pay that portion of rent and the late fee just to get out of it. However, New York City rent is expensive, so it's not just like a couple $100. It's thousands of dollars. And there was another incident, the utility bill drama. So to make things worse, once he had moved out, I got the utility bill in the mail, and it was originally in his social security in his name. So I was like, great, I got the bill, I have the account number, I can switch this unit over into my name. So I opened up the bill, expecting just to find the account number and information, and instead I saw a $3,000 bill. Like, as in, nobody had paid the utility bill since we moved into the apartment. So somebody was just cashing out the Venmos that they received for utilities and not paying Con Ed, I guess. So I called Con Ed, freaked out. They were no help. I figured out a way, though, to make sure that that balance got transferred to their social security number and not mine, because originally Con Ed was trying to put me on a payment plan. And in my head, I was like, I've already paid all of this. Like, I've paid my half of this already. So I don't know why I now need to pay all of it. Anyways, we figured that. But ever since that, I just had like a little bad feeling. And I decided, you know what? I actually do need that rent money. Also, keep in mind, we still had about 6 months left on this lease at this point, and this person's name was on the lease with me. So theoretically, if I did not pay this rent, both of us would be held liable. The building would sue both him and me. So by me stepping up to pay 100% of the rent was actually a favor. And I also could have sued him for half that rent if I really wanted to. But I was trying to be reasonable. I was just trying to ask for that half of rent for that month that he lived here. That's it. Plus late fees. Filing the case. So I went to New York City Small Claims and I filed for that unpaid rent plus late fees. I paid the $20 cash, filled out the form, and the way I got his address, because I did not know where he moved to, is Venmo. He had publicly Venmo'd his new roommate, his entire address, including the unit number, and I was able to find his new address. And I wrote that exact address on this filing claim, and then he was served. So important life lesson here is to always make sure that your Venmos are private, okay? And never, ever, ever send your entire address in a Venmo description to somebody. Like, what if a stalker or a bad person found your address? Not just like an ex who's looking for your rent money. Anyways, it took about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years before the case finally got heard. There were multiple appointments that I showed up to. I sat there, listened to everyone else's cases, and mine just was not heard. But as you can imagine, that's multiple months, years of late fees piling up on top of that bill. It got to be pretty expensive. And so at the hearing, when I showed the judge the original amount I requested, I also added on like plus this additional late fees. And I showed screenshots and statements of all of the new late fees that have been added on since I originally filed. You just want to make it very clear if the amount is higher or lower than what you originally filed for, and you also need receipts to back that up on why you need to increase the amount that you're asking for. The hearing. I explained the situation so clearly that the judge asked if I was an attorney, and I was very flattered, but I said, no, I am not. I'm just a girly pop trying to get unpaid rent money so that the late fees stop adding up and I don't have to see this balance every time I log in to pay my monthly rent. And I also showed her that I had been paying 100% of the rent since they moved out on time. It was kind of funny. I could tell she immediately sided with me. She was even like, let me ask you something off the record. Is he playing you? And, and I was like, he might be playing me. But I knew in that moment that she likely had sided with me because she was cracking jokes with me by the end of it. And yeah, a few weeks later, I received a letter in the mail saying that I won. I did receive the full amount I asked for, plus some interest, a couple $100 of interest because the case took so long to hear. I don't know if they do that for every case, so I don't want to guarantee that you'll receive that. However, it was a very nice surprise after the win. So I reached out to the defendant via email with the letter attached to the email. Just because, benefit of the doubt, I assumed maybe he didn't know about the court dates. Maybe he had moved since that Venmo address. And that was the case. He had no idea. But he was able to pay back. He responded with a payment plan and he paid me back in a few installments. And then we settled. If he had not cooperated, I would have had to go to a sheriff and figure out a way to garnish his wages through his employer, which I did say in that email because I wanted to be very clear that I would prefer to go the civil route and have him pay me himself versus having to get his employer involved. And I just really didn't want to deal with another headache. I just wanted an end to the madness. And lastly, lessons learned. Let's just say I learned a lot of lessons. So now I always tell my friends, anybody I hear who's moving in with a friend, with a significant other, with a random family member, just always be so careful. And you always want to protect yourself. We're talking roommate agreements. And I know when you're moving in with a significant other, it's like the honeymoon phase and you're just so excited and we would never have problems. We're never going to break up. He would never do that. She would never do that, whatever. You need a roommate agreement. And I'm going to do another video on key things to discuss with this person before you move in, as well as key things that you need in a roommate agreement. Especially because now I am considering living with somebody again, so that's very topical for me and something I need to do myself. Anyways, if you found this video helpful, please leave a like, a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment with your own personal story, whatever it is. I am not an attorney, I am not a lawyer, and I am not an expert by any means. But feel free to ask me questions if you have, and maybe I might know, but likely I don't. But thank you so much for watching, and good luck with your small claims case.